Welcome to Tequila Chats. Today's guest is one of my favorite people in the entire world, Pauline Bennett. Pauline is the president of Coldwell Realty across the entire Northeast region. She's a trailblazer in real estate leadership. She is known for recruiting top talent as well as driving market innovation. She oversees over 6,500 agents in 94 offices across 5 states with annual sales of over $23 billion. Pauline Bennett, Madam President, welcome to Tequila Chats.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So this is the Bethany Eddy special.
Oh, lovely.
It's soda water with a splash of orange juice and a little bit of bitters.
Well, and a lovely
And
garnish.
a lovely whatever this thing is.
The rosemary.
Rosemary. Okay,
Yes,
there it is.
very
So
nice.
cheers. Let's see. It's actually delicious. It's not tequila, but it is delicious.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah, it's very refreshing
very
for sure.
refreshing. Very
Well,
nice.
So I'm so glad we finally got to sit down. I know we've been trying to put this together now
Yes,
for more than a few months.
for a season.
Literally, I think since last season,
yes.
which is great. But
Yeah.
I know how busy you are. You are, running quite the operation right now. So I appreciate you taking the time
I'm
to
happy
be here.
to be here.
So as you know, Tequila Chats is about learning from very successful people about how they got, not only how they got to a point, but how they see that process so that we can really share like best practices with the people that watch this series. And people really love to hear that kind of like personal part of the process. I always say that we are very good at showing the shiny side of things, right? Because that's what marketing is all about. Particularly in our business, we are very success driven as far as the storytelling is concerned, but we never tell people, what goes behind the scenes, how the sausage
The
gets
sausage
made,
is
whatever it is.
made,
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
yes. Uh-huh.
But I think that's where the interesting bits are.
Yeah.
How that, how does that happen that gets you to that point? So to start this conversation, and this is always the first question that I have for all my guests, what is your origin story? Where does Pauline Bennett come from? Because I feel like where you come from, it kind of like informs everything that you do in life. So who is Pauline Bennett? Where do you come from, Madam President?
Yes. Okay, well, thank you for having me.
No,
This is really, it's a treat to be here, and it's and I'm really happy to be here with you today. I'm really happy to be doing this with you on your 20th year
You're right. Thank you.
celebration.
Thank you very much.
So I'm excited about that for you, and I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to be here with you today.
Thank
and
you.
I think we're going to have an amazing year together.
I think so too.
Both business, personal,
Yes.
and also, I guess, 20 parties.
20 parties,
parties.
20 stories, 20 properties.
Yes,
We're going to do it all.
It's going to be amazing. So looking forward to that. But
Thank you.
look, I was born and raised in Connecticut, so not far from
Okay.
here. I consider myself a New Englander. I found myself in real estate
Yes.
in like the end of the 90s, the late 90s. I found myself in real estate, and then from there, what I really say, a lot of my origin story
Yes.
is I said yes to a lot of things,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't afraid to take risk.
Well, that is really the key to, but let me go
Yep,
back.
so-
So how do you find risk? Because mine was accidental. Mine was just this person that I knew saying,
Yeah.
you need to do it, you need to do it. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's try it. And
Yeah.
he ended up being right.
Yes.
How was that encountering a real estate for you?
So for me, I was in a sales profession, and I knew I was going to make a change. And I wanted to get into an industry where the sky was the limit.
Yes.
I could be my own boss.
Yes.
I could make as much money as I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I could be creative,
Yes.
where there were a lot of different things, a lot of different elements to the job.
Uh-huh.
I had just bought my first home,
Yes.
and I
That's that
watched
informed that process for you,
and,
yes.
and that
Yeah.
I watched that
Mhm.
process, and I thought, wow, I think I could do that job. I think I could do that job better than what I had experienced.
Mhm.
And that was really, it felt like I've always had that entrepreneurial itch.
Yes.
And it felt like real estate offered a lot of freedom for me to really make it
Mhm.
my own.
Yeah.
and build a business.
So, it's so funny because
I'm sure you can relate. I mean, I
in
hope.
some ways,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
interesting. I never thought that I was entrepreneurial. Like, I never thought that I was a person to do business because I was always like in the arts. I grew up in an environment that was about the arts, music and painting, and then I wanted to be an actor. And so for me, the arts were kind of like was going to be my direction. And I always looked at business as something that was not my thing. That was not my groove. But then real estate was different. The way that I felt in love with real estate is because I realized that it was a business that was very respectful of who you are and what you bring to the table, right?
Absolutely.
It is all about you in some ways.
And there's no blueprint.
Yeah,
you
there's
can really
none.
make it your own.
Yes. I always said that there are as many ways of doing real estate as there are agents or practitioners.
And that's where I think you've been just such an amazing role model and inspiration for so many, because
Thank
you
you.
have really taken that
Yeah.
to, I think, like next level.
No, thank you. You're very kind.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier this. You said I never say no.
I said I always said yes.
We always say yes.
Yes.
Okay, you always say yes. Tell
Try
us
to be
about that. Yes.
positive.
Yeah, totally. Okay, you always say yes. So tell us about that. What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So, anytime there was a challenge, an opportunity, will you do X? Would you consider Y? I always said yes.
Because for me, I always ask. That's kind of like my mantra. I feel like if you don't ask, how do you know?
Yeah.
And the worst somebody can say to you is no.
Yeah.
And then you move on. And then you go into the next one. There's no hurt feelings, but you have to ask.
Exactly.
But I love this idea that you have to say yes. But you feel that that's what really has kind of like shifted.
Look, for me, I think it was a lot, because what saying yes enabled me to do was it really enabled me to work in a bunch of different markets across the country.
Yes.
So it gave me a lot of different exposure in our real estate space. It gave me the opportunity to kind of take some big challenges, to stretch myself outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to reinvent in place.
Yes.
Or to get to the next, if you're trying to see what you're truly capable of.
Yes.
Sometimes if you can broaden areas that you would consider, you can accelerate that process. So being willing to take opportunities in other parts of the country really accelerated my ability to really kind of show what I could do and challenge myself and see what I was capable of.
Yes. But you started as an agent. Your
did.
career was as an agent. You were a
10
top
years.
producing agent
10 years.
for 10 years. And I think that shows on the way that you approach your position right now as president of the company, because you understand where we are coming from. You understand,
There's a
like the environment.
uniqueness. There's a uniqueness of being an independent contractor
Yes.
in real estate, in any business. There's a uniqueness to being truly responsible for for everything.
Yes.
And I have having been a real estate agent for 10 years. I admire the guts and the grit and what it takes to truly be an independent agent, an independent contractor, a business owner.
Yeah.
And so I don't ever want to forget.
No, yeah,
Even though
no,
I'm
of
not
course.
that, even though I'm in a different role, I don't ever want to forget what the reality of that
Yeah, but I
role
gotta
is.
tell you, from the agent perspective, and I've said this to you before, I feel it. I feel like because you have that experience as an agent, you understand where we're coming from. You understand our trials and tribulations, but you also understand how we see the business and how we see, the way in which position ourselves within the entire industry. And so that's I think that's super important. I think that's what makes you very special. And I think that in Coldwell Banker, but in Coldwell Banker, we are very lucky, I think, as well, because we have a lot of our presidents have come from the agent
field,
world.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'm an agent at heart, really.
Yes. But right now, your job is absolutely crazy. So you are the president of Coldwell Banker Realty in the entire Northeast.
Correct.
So that is Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and now New York. Did I miss one state or
You
anything?
did not. You got them all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a serious operation because you're looking at production somewhere around, I was reading, over $23 billion a year. So that is, kind of like the budget of a country, small country, someplace.
Well, we're
Yeah.
very, here in the Northeast, we're very blessed.
Yes.
We have great agents, great market share, great inventory.
Yeah.
We're really lucky. I feel really lucky to lead this area. It's not only is it home to me, but, it's an area where, our company, has, we really are a significant, in most of our markets, we're the number one player
Yes.
that we're, so
Yeah.
it really gives us a lot to celebrate
Yeah.
here. I have a lot to be proud of.
And so what got you to move from being on the field as an agent
Yeah.
to being on the management side?
Yeah. I said yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was approached
Mm-hmm.
and somebody, and look, there were a few things, you'll probably relate to this, but there were a few kind of goals that I had set for myself as an agent, and I was, checking them off the list. And,
Yeah.
but, sometimes you do kind of, you wonder, or you may be looking to make a change if, so somebody had said to me, hey, you know what, would you ever consider managing an office?
Yeah.
And I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I often think back to that time, and I actually like a team.
Yes. Yes.
I like a team a lot.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if you've built an amazing team.
Yes, I'm very
An
fortunate to be surrounded by
amazing team.
amazing people.
And
yes.
and that I like that. I
Yes.
like to operate that way. I'm a very collaborative person.
Yes.
I like to have a pack. I'm not a lone ranger.
Yes. Yes.
And if teams were popular, back, I wonder if I might.
If you would have ended
I
up
wonder,
having a
I
team
wonder,
or been.
because that
Yeah.
really did appeal to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
actually does make sense when you think about your role right now, and then that desire to be part of kind of like an operation.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really did like, and I at that time and even today, really, I
Yeah.
just kind of shifted from my clients being buyers and sellers to my clients are now all of you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was the same, but I did have that that team feeling.
Yes.
Mm.
Your rise in the business on this management side has been incredible, because you started as you said, you started managing an office in Florida, right? And
No, started in Connecticut.
oh, in Connecticut. I
Yeah.
thought it was in Florida.
No, in
Okay.
Connecticut.
But then you were the
Then I moved to
president
Florida.
to Florida, and then you went to the Carolinas as the
Carolinas.
president of the
Uh-huh.
Carolinas. Then this is when we met, when you came to New England to be the
Correct.
president of New England. Now you are president of the entire Northeast.
Correct.
As you look at that growth in your business, can you identify a tipping point? Is there a moment in which you realize that your journey, your career was shifting?
Maybe like small things, but
And there are many tipping points, by the
for
way. Yeah,
sure.
they just
But
keep happening.
what I related to the most was the gentleman that did episode 1, season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You just released his Tequila Chat. What was his
Oh,
name?
you're talking about Christopher Peacock.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. That's season 3, by the way. I
Oh,
think
is
you
that-
missed a
oh,
season.
I
I'm just
missed
saying.
a whole season. So okay, so episode 1,
Yes,
season
yeah, Christopher
3.
Peacock, amazing guy, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But I related so much when he said he wakes up every morning in a panic.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yeah,
we still have so much to do.
yes.
And, so tipping points, there have been lots of learnings, lots of just, great stories,
Yeah.
But that feeling of
Yeah.
like every day you kind of wake up with that fire in your belly of like, making a difference, or
Yes.
or there's more for us to do.
Yes.
I could relate to his comment so
Yes.
much on that.
Yeah. I do relate to that as well, because for me, it's always been about like innovation in my business and the practice and all. I wake up every morning, just like you do, wondering how could this be better? How can we do it better?
And in our business,
Yeah.
I mean, January 1st,
We start again.
we start
Yes,
again. We all
exactly.
start again.
Yeah.
And you can say we all
Yeah.
start we're all number 1, or
Yes.
we're all, we're all
Whatever number
start
you're
at
in, you start at 0.
you
Everybody
start
starts at the
zero,
same
right?
place. That's really
Exactly.
interesting, by the way.
And that is that's I think very, very ingrained
Yeah.
in us as real estate professionals, right? You cannot. Last year is ancient history.
It's all
at
cute
this
and
point.
nice, but it doesn't really matter for this year.
Right. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter for this year.
Yeah.
So that really kind of drives me every day, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, all of that,
Yeah.
any success in the past,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It's fun stories, but it's really about looking through the
Yes.
windshield, not the rear view mirror.
But as you look at your success in your career, what have you learned from that success? What are those like core lessons that you've learned from your success?
So it's success, and I also I wonder if you can relate, but it's also, I think, just like business maturity.
Mm-hmm. Meaning?
Meaning, like, as I got a little older,
Yeah.
I realized that some things you just should let go.
Yeah. Priorities shift, I guess, in some
Yes.
ways. Is that what you mean?
Yes, priorities shift. Well, and also I think just maybe more patience.
Yeah. Yes. 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 I think also, I relate to my own practice, my own business, that some things are not for you in some ways, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And the things that are for you are the ones that are going to make you the happiest, are the ones that are going to make you the most fulfilled. But there are some certain things that are just not for you. And I think sometimes you spend, particularly early on, and I know from early in my career, chasing things that I knew deep down were not for me. But I was like, let's just give it a
Check
chance.
the box.
Yes. And then I realized
Yeah.
it was good. I did it.
Yeah.
Now I know that I don't want to do certain things, but it's good to know, to have the clarity as to where you need to be going next.
As I've gotten older, I think I've also, I've learned, I'm getting better at balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting better
Yes.
at balance, and I think it makes me a more balanced leader.
Yeah.
So that has, I've kind of noticed that, and I just think like capacity, if that makes, what used to be, used to require a lot of effort, bandwidth, mental, you just with more experience and having, gone through a bunch of different, you just experience
Yes.
does expand capacity.
Yes, it does. Yeah. No,
I'm
you're
sure
absolutely
on
right.
your first building,
Yes.
when you think back, of starting things and how that went, and then what you bring to it today.
Today, yes. Yes. It's a completely
capacity,
different,
right?
yes.
The
Yes,
capacity is
exactly.
just expanded,
Yes.
exponentially.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And that I look back on that, and I those again, I think that just helps you level up on what you're trying to do.
And so when you color all these markers of success, which one of those are you the most proud of?
Oh, I would use words like grit, determination, no quit.
Yeah.
Just that fire in the belly. If you don't have the desire,
Yes. Yeah.
I think that drives so much.
No, that is really what makes the difference. It's just because it's all about kind of like projecting. You've heard this story when I first met Ken Tutanjan, who's still, considered one of my, my mentors, my true mentor.
For sure, yeah.
We sat down for lunch, and the first thing that came out of his mouth is like, "Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?" And I always tell this story. Gave him this lofty answer.
What did you say?
Oh my God! No, it was a crazy answer.
What did you say?
You want to hear it? You want to hear it? No, I'm going to tell you.
You have to tell
come
them.
on, I'll tell you. No.
Oh, I know. No, you have to say it loud and proud.
No. This is what I said to him.
Well,
I said,
yes.
"Look, I want to be a rock star in the business, right? Not an actual rock star, but I want to be.
Yes.
I want to be a rock star." And he did not flinch.
Yeah.
But his non-flinching and his commitment, I'm still working on it. Someday I'll be. I have the leather pants now, so I'm starting somewhere. but that having him not flinch just showed to me that everything is possible, and that as long as you have, and this has been the experience in my career, that as long as you have kind of like clarity of where you want to be, the steps will reveal themselves, and the process will. I always said, we need to go from A to Z, but sometimes it's not A, B, C, D. Sometimes A to M, down
Back
to
to
B,
C,
back to Z. But you end up there. At
Yes,
some point, you
100%.
end up there.
Yeah.
But you have to be committed to the process.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That commitment is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because I can assure you that Ken has had a lot of people tell him that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And,
yeah, I'm sure.
and few
yeah.
have had the commitment
to
see
get through it
to do
and
as you
continue to
have.
do it,
Yes,
by the way.
as you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So you are a rock star.
Well, someday I'll buy a
Yes.
guitar. I have leather pants. I'll get a guitar. Maybe I'll serenade the audience someday.
That would be nice.
So now, as we speak of success, let's look at the other side. what have you learned from your failures? Because we all have them.
So, a lot for me kind of comes around managing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you managing people? I think is the I talked before about being that lone ranger, where the only one you're responsible for is yourself. And then as your team grows, right, and you're responsible for others in an industry that's undergone tremendous change in our
Oh my God, yes.
tremendous change. Really keeping the team, like being able to inspire the team to, adapt skill sets, level up their games, being relevant in changing market conditions, and really finding that talent that really helps you have more scale, I think is the biggest, those are the areas where when I look back, I think, okay, I did a good job in this particular situation. I blew this particular situation. If I had gone back in this particular, I would have done things differently. It's
But you
almost
think
always
it's
around
a matter of,
talent.
for you, it's a matter of managing, or you think it's a matter of maybe the clarity on that vision?
I would also say even having the right people in the right seats.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. I think that's the key, by the way.
Giving, making sure
I
they're
really
in
do
the,
think that is the
and then
key.
giving them all the gasoline that they need to go really fast.
This is a universal conversation that I had almost with every guest that comes through this. Everybody says you got to be surrounded by the right people.
It is.
Because you could have the most incredible strategy, whatever the heck it is going on, right? But if
Exactly.
you don't have the right people around you,
Exactly.
that strategy is going nowhere.
I totally agree.
But learning who those right people are, that's the key. Yeah,
And then
that is
how
the
do
key.
you, and then even if you need to make a change, how you make that change, when you make that change, what do you, that to me, those are the areas that when I look back and, kind of, think, what would I, how did I handle that? What would I have done differently?
Yes,
that's the area where, where I would say, okay. And I've, look, that develops as well, but that's an area that I
feel
would
that,
point to.
now that you said, I feel that I connect with what you're saying. Yeah, I completely connect. So now, silly question, but you have, over 65,000 of us in terms of agents?
6,000.
6,000. Yeah, that's what it is.
6,000.
Yeah, 6,000, that's what it is. And then you have all your managers, all the staff. Do you have any pet peeves?
I have plenty.
Tell me tell me one. I'm
it-
always just
yes,
curious.
yes,
Just
keep
curious.
it. One of my pet peeve is when people don't really own their own, own it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
There's no free lunch in this business.
No, for sure.
I feel like we all got into this business because we wanted to be rock stars.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then, and we all know it takes effort to be there. So a pet peeve would really be like that. Or it could be being late.
Yes, yeah.
I don't like people who are late. I don't
Okay,
like when things are late.
I'll take notes on that. I'll make sure that I'm never late. Right to a call.
Unless it's you.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, that's a
But
good
you
thing.
can be
That's
late.
great. Okay, but only by a little bit.
Yeah,
yes.
only by a little bit. But, for me, it's like I'm trying to pack a lot into one day.
Yeah.
So
It throws everything out. It's disrespectful. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Throws everything off.
Yeah.
And a pet peeve. I mean, that's an interesting word. It would be disrespectful.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's that can be something that I'm like, look, we can being nice and respectful is free.
Yes.
We
It is.
We
Yes.
should all do more.
Costs nothing,
of
by
it.
the way. Yes.
It costs
really does.
nothing.
Yeah.
We should all do more of it.
It really does, and it's difficult enough as it is to
Agreed.
go in that direction.
Yes.
For me, it's details. Attention to details. I think that if you're going to make a mistake, make a huge mistake, and then we have a way to explain it, and then there's a learning curve based on that. For me, small mistakes and this idea of the small mistake, to me, particularly after the mistake continues to be repeated, to me is just a sign of I don't know what it is, and it just
that's your
gets to me.
superpower.
Yeah,
that
it
is
doesn't
your
get
superpower.
Yeah.
Your attention to detail.
Yeah.
Just the work that just how you've raised the bar on your social media, marketing properties, how you position and showcase a property, whether it's a single family, residence, a condo, a building, you know, whether you're breaking a new barrier, your attention to detail is your superpower.
Oh, you're too
It
kind.
is truly. No, and
Well-
you have, I mean, I do hear from across our network, right? Our agents are like, tell me what Ricardo does. You know, I want to be like, you have
Do you
the,
tell 'em I
the
drink
fan
tequila all
club,
the
the
time?
fan club, yes. And so for me, like that is not my superpower. The attention to that is not my superpower, right? I
Yeah.
need people to help me
Yes, yeah,
with that.
yeah.
And that's kind of what we were talking about before, like having people around you that are good at the stuff you're not good at.
Yes. No, exactly.
You
That's
know,
it.
yeah. But
That is
but
exactly it.
but I can totally see that in you because that is really your magic.
Well, thank you very much. You're very
Yes,
kind.
Yes.
You know, I cannot afford you, but it would be great if you could do my PR, and it would be fantastic.
You've done a very good job. Who's ever doing it has done a very good job.
But now to end the conversation. I know you're busy. We need to get you out of here on time. You're managing this whole timing thing. Our last question is always, it's a universal question. What do you think is the key to success?
I mean, I think it's hard work,
Okay.
effort.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that is the key. You know, I've never seen anybody fail in real estate because they were not smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen plenty of people not get where they wanted to go because they were too smart. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. You think that they took things for granted, or they thought they were just going to go their way?
Well,
Which way?
they thought so much
Yes.
about
Got it.
and they thought more than they acted.
Do it. Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, so for me, you know, now look, you can't be reckless. You have to have,
Yes, of
like, there's a
course.
lot of other things,
Yes.
but that really willingness to work hard day in and day out, not give up.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
don't quit
Yeah.
before the miracle. Like that to me is, I think, and certainly for me, but I see it in so many others,
Yes.
is always a distinguishing characteristic of success.
Yes.
I would take a B student with a fire in their belly
Mm-hmm.
over an A student that didn't really have a bunch of motivation.
No, I totally get it. We just gotta get it done. You know,
Gotta get it done.
I say this to myself, and I say to a team, not on a regular basis, but when the case comes, I would say, look, in real estate, somebody's getting paid. Make sure that it is you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is literally just, you gotta get it done.
Yeah.
If you are not out there getting the business, don't complain that you don't have it.
Yeah.
If you are not out there perfecting your craft and learning and sharing, then complain that you don't know how to do certain things. You gotta get it done.
And in this business, I see so many people that are getting ready to get ready
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to make a
Yes.
mistake.
Yes,
They
yes,
don't want
yes.
to, you know,
Yes.
and there's so many ways that we can help people when they might kind of lack confidence in a certain area. But what we can't do for them is just get them out.
Get them out there, make them do it. You
Exactly.
cannot
That is
push
where the
them. Yes.
magic, the
Yeah.
magic happens out there.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yeah.
Well, you are wonderful.
You are
You see, guys, I hope you understand right now why we love her so much, and we have like the best leadership. And so,
well, I'm very lucky.
no, Pauline, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching, and salud. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. I would love to hear from you, so make sure that you like, you comment, you share, and you subscribe. And so we'll see you next episode of Tequila Chats. Salud.